I know I'm not the only person who has thought of this, but JJ Bleday keeps the losing away.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Oakland A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's as long as they're in A's, and while they're there, let's all say, let's go, Oakland. I am your host. I am the city of Sacramento for this podcast. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and this is my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, where I'm normally the host of Locked On MLB. And guess what? I still am the host of Locked On MLB, but I'm also hosting here at Locked On A's because that's how I'm built. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sam at Sully Baseball on Twitter. That's what I call it. Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. This easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Hey, this isn't getting old. The A's are going into May only, what is it now? They're only 3 games under 500. And when they're not playing Cleveland, they're 2 games above 500. Now, remember, they started the season 1-7. Since then, they're 13-10. Now, once again, that's not making anyone forget Catfish Hunter, Raleigh Fingers, Jose Canseco, or Jason Giambi. But when they started the season as horrifically as you could, with all the awfulness, the A's are a winning team since then. And not only that, by winning Game 2 against the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight, they have clinched yet another series. They haven't lost the series since the sweep of Cleveland. They split with the Yankees. They won the series with Baltimore. They won the series against Pittsburgh. And lest we forget, those are 3 teams that are not necessarily bad. Yes, Pittsburgh's having a bit of a slump right now, but it's not like the A's are a juggernaut. But here we are. Here we are, folks. We're seeing a team that's going into May in 3rd place. And when you take a look at now the Astros won a really thrilling game, extra inning game against the Cleveland Guardians. You know, the Astros could beat. Why can't the A's beat the Guardians? But anyway, the Angels just lost an absolutely brutal game to the Phillies, where they had the lead in the 9th inning. They let up a pair of home runs and wound up losing the game. And oh yeah, found out that Mike Trout is going to need surgery and will miss months. And of course, there's talk of like, well, he's going to try to make it back before the end of the year. And I hate to say this, but why? Why? And I love Mike Trout, but why? The Angels are bad. Why are you going to rush back to potentially ruin your career so you can play in September and play out the string in Anaheim? But the reason I'm bringing that up is there's still 2 teams behind the A's. And guess what, folks? They're going to be behind them tomorrow and the next day. We are going to be going into the first weekend of May with the A's in 3rd place, only a handful of games behind Seattle and Texas in the loss column, and they're going to be going up this weekend against the Marlins, who, say it with me, folks, are the worst team in the National League. And the only team worse than them in all of baseball are the Chicago White Sox. Now, it's incredibly hypocritical of me to poke fun at other teams who are circling the calendar saying, here come the A's, here comes an easy win, while insinuating that a game against the Marlins is an easy win. Hell, the Marlins could show a little bit of pride when they come to the Coliseum this weekend and win a couple of games there and have the proverbial egg on my face. But if the A's win, I mean, I want them to go for the sweep tomorrow. I want to absolutely stand above it, get that punch in there, and then get yourself ready for the Miami series and stay focused. Keep winning. Go for the sweep, but keep winning 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. If you're playing a good team like New York, 4-game series in their home park, do what they did, which was split. They got the Miami games are going to be coming up this weekend. And then comes after, again, I'm going to talk about this weekend. I'm going to do a whole bunch of shows at the Coliseum this weekend, and we're going to be previewing what should be a crazy couple weeks coming up. But I want you to stop and think what's going to be coming up. We'll cover the game in a second. Don't you worry. They've beaten the Pirates. They're gonna try to go for the sweep tomorrow. But even if they lose 28-0, they still have beaten the Pirates. They got the 3-game series against Miami, and then comes a stretch of games where the A's could look up and say, we may want to just hang around here a little bit longer. You've got the Rangers coming up. The Rangers are in second place. Then you have Seattle. You go up to Seattle. The Seattle Mariners are in first place. And then you have Houston. 4 games at Houston. Now, Houston's behind the A's right now, but and I know that there's way too much talent on that Houston team to keep them down for a long period of time. But what I'm saying is this. If they could finish this sweep and then win the series against Miami, they'll be on a stretch of winning baseball, winning series. Boom, 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 boom. And then facing some of the teams that are in front, the 2 main teams that are in front of them. And if they can play the 4 games against Texas and play that 7-game series and go 4-3, then they'll have actually chipped away as we'll be approaching. By the time we hit that point, we will be approaching the middle of May. And you really can't start looking at the standings realistically until Memorial Day. But you can get to Memorial Day with a winning record and a few games out of first place. Then you could start to look at this team and say, okay, folks, this might be a more interesting year than we thought we were going to have. And a big chunk of it is right now. A big chunk of it is, can they hold their own in this upcoming gauntlet? And remember, when this recent series, the recent road trip, looked like a gauntlet with Cleveland, New York, and Baltimore. 1 first-place team, or 2 first-place teams and 1 second-place team. The Cleveland Indians beat them up and stole their lunch money. But the Yankees and Orioles, now they had the winning record against those teams. Keep beating these teams, keep winning these games. And this sad and frustrating year could yield one last bit of fun at the ballpark. And they're doing it. It's May. It's no longer April. It's now May. So we've had 1 month that started awfully, but became a little bit of fun. If we can have another fun month in May, guess what? That's a third of a season that was, say it with me, fun. And not just a sad funeral. Who's in the comments? Yeah, that's right. Jay Rodriguez writes, the A's are playing amazing. I don't know if that's grammatically correct, but do you know what? I'm going to let it slide. Do you know why? Because it's fun. Do you know Mother's Day is right around the corner, and I am going to get you a really good present, Mom. My mom listens to every podcast. But I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to get. I'm not going to tell you if I'm going to get you flowers for the kitchen aisle. I'm not going to tell you if I'm going to get you self-care essentials or the latest tech, because I know you like those really good practical presents. I won't tell you what we're getting for you, but I'll tell you how you're going to get it. You're going to get it through a DoorDash. We might use same-day delivery, or we may schedule a week ahead of time. We will get savings that will make you proud of us, Mom. And with a Dash Pass membership, we will save with a $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fee, apply. And terms apply. Of course, you too can order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB and get 50% off your next order. Up to $15 when you spend 15 or more on your next flour, convenient grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. DoorDash. Don't worry, Mom. You'll get your gift. Let's hear a little bit from our friends from Prize Picks, because this is the best time of the year to be a sports fan with the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs and baseball in full swing. And now you need to check out Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. And if you want to take full advantage of the NBA playoffs, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game at a new level during basketball's postseason. And you can have quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. And they now offer Apple Pay for quick, easy deposits into your account this basketball postseason. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. You heard me right. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick now. Pick more. Pick yourself a winner. It's Prize Picks. You have a new destination for your sports information. That is Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel produced for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without the screaming of some of those other places. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. All right, folks. Um, Sorry, there's a little bit of I'm having a little bit of glitch here, but we will get there. I don't know what's happening. Something when you do a live stream, you sometimes have a little problem here or there. But let's talk a little bit about the game, shall we? That's more fun. JJ Bleday obviously was the big hero of the game. He wound up homering twice, driving in 3 runs. Connor Joe hit the home run in the first inning off of Wood. And I remember, like, I am so fatalistic when it comes to some of these games because this is like when they took the 1-0 lead in the first, I I started writing the podcast in my head what I was going to say. It's like, well, okay, so they lost the second game, but they haven't lost a rubber match yet, so there's hope for the day game and everything like that. And then immediately Bleday, wound up tying the game in the they wound up tying. They wound up going ahead in the second inning. I think it was it was the Toro's single wound up tying the game, and then Nevin wound up giving the lead, and then Bleday homered in the fifth to make it a 3-2, and then Bleday hit the home run in the eighth inning or the seventh inning to make it 5-2. And there you go. Toro got the 2 hits. Nevin got the 2 hits. Rooker got on base twice with a couple of walks. Wood only lasted 4 innings, but give a big, big round of applause to Spence, Ersig, and Miller, the law firm of Spence, Ersig, and Miller. Spence threw 3 innings, only allowed the 1 hit. Didn't walk anyone, struck out 2. Ersig struck out all 3 batters he faced. Miller struck out all 3 batters he faced. And it was funny when they got the lead, or when they extended the lead to 5-2. I remember thinking, maybe don't bring Miller in. Maybe you save Miller for, he'll be super rested. But that's really not the way it works for relievers. You got to use relievers can't sit for too long, and it was a chance to bring in Miller and drive in the nail for the for this particular game right away. And for the series, boom. Now you're playing with house money. If you want to sit Miller, you sit him tomorrow. Again, they've already won the series, so they don't have to use him tomorrow, even in a save situation, because you want to make sure you can win that series against the Marlins. But Jonathan Curran writes in and says Mason Miller is a controlled Rick Vaughn. Well, that's a pretty low bar if you're going to be talking about control with Rick Vaughn. And Leave It to Baker says, seriously, he needs black rimmed glasses now. It's funny. I know this is sacrilege. I'm not the biggest Major League fan in the world. I love Bull Durham. I did a whole podcast. In fact, subscribe to Bull Durham Minute. I did a whole podcast series about Bull Durham. I like Major League, but I don't love it. I'm very weird when it comes to baseball movies. I would rather watch baseball. I would rather watch baseball, instead of seeing fake baseball. And so I'm very particular. I love Bull Durham. I love The Natural and Field of Dreams, 8 Men Out. I like Moneyball, but I have some serious. I think Moneyball had some long-term problems that helped eventually sink the A's in Oakland. But that's a future podcast. But Major League is a film that I have. I think it's okay. I think the best scenes are the Bob Uecker scenes. I mean, there are laughs in it, to be sure, but there's some people who watch it over and over again, and what are you going to do? By the way, Jay Rodriguez reminds us that Jacob Wilson is tearing up in the minor leagues. Any chance we're going to see him this year? Yeah, sure. What are they going to lose? What are they going to try to? I mean, this is their last year in Oakland. Let's throw everything but the kitchen sink at them. Do you what I find is absolutely bizarre as a baseball historian, and I've been working on this project about the 1972 postseason, is that the A's and the Pirates have never played each other in the World Series. And you say, Sully, so what? Well, I want you to just go through history, even going back to the Philadelphia A's. In the 1900s, the Pirates were the first team to represent the National League in the World Series, and they won a couple of pennants in the 1900s, including winning the 1909 World Series. The A's were one of the early powerhouses in the American League, and they won a couple of pennants in the 1900s. But guess what? They never matched. Honus Wagner was with the Pirates, and Rube Waddell was part of the A's, but they never met. In the 1920s, the Pirates won multiple pennants, including a World Series title in 1925. And the A's won multiple pennants, including 3 straight pennants and 2 straight World Series at the end of the 1920s into the 1930s. But they never won them the same year. Okay, both teams went through some bad times in the late 30s through the 40s and the 50s. But they started to get better. And by the 1970s, the A's were in the postseason 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, and 81. The Pirates were in the postseason 70, 71, 72, 74, 75, and 79. Yes, I'm doing this from memory. And not once in any of those years did they meet in the World Series. Now, the Pirates were 3 outs away from winning the pennant in 1972, which would have given us an A's versus the Pirates World Series, but the Reds came storming back. Guess what happened in the early 1990s? The late 80s, early 1990s, the Pirates and the A's were both good again. The A's were in the postseason in 88, 89, 90, 92. The Pirates were in the postseason in 90, 91, and 92. Guess what? Never met in the World Series. Then both teams went on big droughts for a while, but the A's and the Pirates became good again at the same time. The A's and the Pirates in the playoffs in 2013 and 2014. And I think you'll guess they never met. So many times these two franchises were really good at the same time, and yet we have never had an A's Pirates World Series, which should have happened in the 70s if for no other reason for the great colorful uniforms. But it's strange. Wouldn't mind seeing it this year. All right, game off. We got to pause here and talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag the play. You've already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. Look in Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you can work together to build each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much to get. Unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings and heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot Penchico machine. I don't know what I just said. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV's channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Okay, folks, we're having a little issue right now, and do you know what? Because I do not want to get in trouble with my sponsors, let me read the whole ad for Monopoly Go. Now, I know you're saying, Sully, you've already started reading that ad, but do you know what? Forget that. I got to tell you about Monopoly Go. You can build up your team. You can build up a team with your friends for time tournaments where you can go build up other people's boards. The more you win together, the awesome prizes you can unlock. There's a lot of great things you can get. Great emojis for taunting your friends, cool new playing pieces, and a great everyday new games for new cities, constantly changing. A lot of great unique mini games. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover at Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it for free at Monopoly Go or on the App Store. Can't make your sponsors unhappy with you. So there you go. Sorry about I don't know what happened with that glitch, but here we go. Hey, let's do today's episode of the cameos with the A's that I know you forgot. I need to catch your name to that. Hideki Matsui. Hideki Matsui was when the Japanese renaissance in Major League Baseball began. It began in earnest with Hideo Nomo, who was a huge superstar pitcher who came in and electrified baseball in his rookie year with the LA Dodgers. And a steady stream of pitchers came in, but then the thought process was, well, you can't have position players from Japan play. They'll never make it. Well, Ichiro Suzuki said, hold my beer, and revolutionized the game. But people thought, well, yes, a certain kind of player, like a fast player, but you could never have someone with a huge power coming in. And while Barry Bonds was going nuts, taking aim at all home run records, and that's what he did, whether you like it or not, in San Francisco, another giant was doing it in Japan. And of the Yomiuri Giants, Hideki Matsui was the biggest star in Japanese baseball. And he turned down, he was nicknamed Godzilla. I always thought it was screwy, but he was a big, huge, hulking dude with a beautiful left-handed swing. And he turned down a 6-year deal in 2001 to re-sign and stay in Japan. Instead, he offered his services to the New York Yankees in a 3-year deal, which made the Yankees piles of money. But there were people skeptical to see, is this great home run champion going to become a home run king in the United States? Well, he didn't become the massive 50 home run hitter that some people thought he was going to be. Instead, what he became was a tremendous all-star caliber hitter whose baseball IQ was off the charts. And while he did have solid power numbers, including hitting 31 home runs in 2004, he had hit tons of doubles, had a high slugging percentage, high OPS, and seemed to get big hit after big hit. And he was someone who fit in perfectly with the Yankee core. In fact, you had to remember that no, he wasn't part of those early Joe Torre teams when he was playing on some of those Yankee clubs that had a hard time winning the pennant. He played in the World Series in the first year he played, which was the Aaron Boone home run year, but couldn't get into the Yankees went into a little bit of a postseason slump where they would make the postseason, but couldn't get past the division series. But then in 2009, Matsui, he hit well in the series against Minnesota, hitting a big home run there. The Yankees won the pennant, and in the World Series against Philadelphia, it turned into the Hideki Matsui show, where he wound up batting .615. You heard me right. His OPS was 2.027, where he hit 3 home runs, drove in 8 in the 6 games, and won the World Series MVP for what is to date the last Yankee World Series appearance. But then his contract was up, and the Yankees didn't bring him back in 2010. They haven't gone to the World Series since. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. He got his World Series ring on opening day in New York, but he was a member of the Angels. He had an okay season with the 2010 Angels, but then after that, his contract was up, and off he went to Oakland. Now, his time in Oakland, his 1 year he spent with the Oakland A's, was not exactly one of his highlights. One that I bet you forgot he even had. But it was his last full year in the major leagues. He was 37 years old, and his OPS had slipped below 700, and his home run total had slipped to just 12. He was essentially a left-handed DH who occasionally would play in the outfield, but not often. But one particular day on July 24th, 2011, Hideki Matsui had one of the best games of his career. He wound up getting a grand total of 5 hits in the game. He went 5 for 5 with a pair of doubles. He scored a run, and he drove in another. And where did he do that? He did that at Yankee Stadium. And one of his 5 hits, his 5th one was against Mariano Rivera. And it was a back and forth game between the A's and the Yankees, where it was 7-5 in the top of the 9th. And Matsui had singled off of Rivera, putting the tying and go-ahead runs on base. But David DeJesus lined into a double play, and the Yankees won the game. Eventually, Matsui finished his career as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays, but then signed a 1-day contract so he can go back and officially retire as a New York Yankee. But he bounced around Angels, A's, Rays before hanging it up. He may wind up going to the Hall of Fame, although some of his home run records of most home runs, for example, most home runs in the major leagues by a Japanese-born player have been eclipsed by Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani's star has passed Matsui, as Ohtani has become the home run hitter that a lot of people thought Matsui was going to be. But Matsui helped pave the way for Ohtani, at least as the hitter. And one of his last great moments in Major League Baseball took place as a member of the Oakland A's. So let's see if anyone else has some lesson. Do you want to see Seth Brown and Rooker? I don't know. Do you have them captive there, Jesus? There you go. But I'm not sure what that's about. But hey, let's see what happens. Can the A's finish the sweep? They certainly know how to win games. But follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Cheering on another A's series win and fixing a glitch in one of the ad reads. This has been Locked On A's for May 1st, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.